The alien's claws tightened around Commander Lisa Grant's throat as the bridge of the USS Valiant erupted in flames. She couldn't breathe. The Krell warrior, twice her size and armored in bioplated scales, lifted her off the deck like she weighed nothing. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Your species ends here, human," the Krell hissed through mandibles that dripped venom. Lisa's vision blurred. Oxygen deprivation was setting in fast. Her crew lay scattered across the burning bridge, some dead, others dying. The tactical console exploded behind her, showering sparks across the deck. The Krell boarding party had breached their defenses in under 3 minutes. Impossible. But it happened. She felt her legs go numb. Her sidearm had clattered away during the initial assault. No weapons, no backup, no hope. The Krell's grip was iron, crushing her windpipe slowly, savoring her death. Lisa shut her eyes, waiting for death, but something inside her refused to accept it. Something primal, something the galaxy hadn't seen before. Her right hand, dangling uselessly at her side, twitched, not from dying nerves, from choice. Her fingers curled into a fist even as darkness crept into her mind. The Krell noticed too late. Lisa's eyes snapped open, not with fear, with fury. She drove her fist upward into the gap between the Krell's chest plates, the weak point every human soldier had memorized during basic training. Her knuckles shattered on impact, but so did the creature's sternum. The Krell's grip loosened for just a heartbeat. That was enough. Lisa dropped, gulped air, and rolled. Her broken hand screamed agony, but she ignored it. Training took over. She swept the alien's legs with a kick that would have shattered human bones. The Krell stumbled. She lunged for her fallen pistol. 3 shots. Center mass. The Krell's armor held for the first 2. The third punched through, and the warrior collapsed. Lisa stood, gasping, blood running from her nose and mouth. Her hand hung at a wrong angle, but she was alive, and she was angry. "All hands!" she croaked into her wrist comm, voice barely functioning. "Repel boarders! No mercy. No quarter." The surviving crew heard something in her tone that transcended orders. It was permission. Permission to be what humans were when pushed to the absolute edge. Around the ship, human crew members stopped retreating. They stopped dying quietly. They started fighting back with a savagery that made the Krell pause. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you cornered humanity. File name, she shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.txt. The Krell war leader Zakthros watched his tactical display with growing confusion. His boarding teams were elite, undefeated across 40 conquered worlds. Yet the human vessel's internal sensors showed something impossible. His warriors were losing. "Report!" Zakthros demanded, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "Squad 7 is down." Squad 3 reports heavy casualties. "Squad 5 has gone silent," his communications officer stammered. "The humans are not retreating anymore. They are hunting our teams." Zakthros slammed his primary fist against the command throne. Humans were weak, fragile. Their bones broke easily. Their flesh tore like paper. Every intelligence report confirmed this. They should be cowering, surrendering, begging for mercy. Instead, they were winning. On the Valiant's lower decks, engineer Kyle Brennan had watched 2 Krell warriors execute his entire team. He'd hidden behind a plasma conduit, trembling, certain he was next. But then Commander Grant's voice crackled over the comm. That tone, that permission. Kyle looked at the plasma torch in his hands. It was rated for cutting through bulkheads. He wondered what it would do to Krell armor. He stopped hiding. The first warrior never saw him coming. Kyle drove the torch straight through the gap in its neck plating. The superheated plasma melted chitin and flesh instantly. The Krell dropped without a sound. The second warrior spun, raising its particle rifle. Kyle was faster. He triggered the torch's overload function and threw it. The device exploded mid-air, engulfing the Krell in white-hot fire. The creature's screams echoed through the corridor. Kyle grabbed the fallen rifle. He'd never fired a Krell weapon before. Didn't matter. Point and shoot. He ran toward the sounds of combat, roaring. In the medical bay, Dr. Vanessa Cole had 3 wounded crew members and 5 Krell advancing on her position. She had 1 scalpel and a cabinet full of medical supplies. The Cabrel expected her to surrender. She grabbed a canister of liquid nitrogen meant for cryo-storage. The Krell leader stepped through the doorway just as she opened the valve and sprayed. The alien's face froze solid in 2 seconds. Vanessa kicked. The frozen flesh shattered like glass. The other 4 Krell opened fire. Vanessa dove behind an operating table, rounds tearing through medical equipment. She crawled to the pharmaceutical storage, grabbed every oxygen canister she could carry, and set them to maximum pressure. "Get down!" she screamed to her patients. She threw the canisters into the hallway and shot them with a fallen Krell pistol. The explosion blew the remaining boarders apart and buckled the corridor walls. Vanessa stood in the smoking doorway, bleeding from a dozen cuts, and smiled coldly. On the bridge, Lisa had rallied 6 surviving crew members. Her broken hand was hastily splinted. Blood still leaked from her mouth. She didn't care. "Tactical status of their ship," she ordered. "Dreadnought class." "We can't hurt it, Commander. Our weapons are offline," Tactical Officer Greg Palmer replied. "Not talking about weapons," Lisa said. Her eyes had a dangerous gleam. "How many of their crew are on our ship?" "Sensors show approximately 200 Krell boarders throughout the Valiant." "And how many started?" Greg checked. His face went pale. 300. "So we've killed a third of their boarding force in 10 minutes. Lisa's smile was predatory. "Nav, can we still maneuver?" "Thrusters only. Main engines are down." "Good enough." "Helm, set collision course with their dreadnought. Maximum thrust." "Commander, that's suicide," Greg said quietly. "No," Lisa corrected. "It's sending a message. They wanted to board us because they thought we were easy prey. Let's show them what human prey does when cornered. Either they recall their teams and pull back, or we ram them with 200 of their own warriors still on our ship." She opened a direct channel to the Krell dreadnought, speaking in their language. "Krell Commander, you have 30 seconds to withdraw or we both die. Your choice." Zackthros stared at his screen in disbelief. The human ship was accelerating directly toward his vessel. Collision in 28 seconds. His boarding teams were still aboard. If he fired on the human ship, he'd kill his own warriors. If he let them collide, everyone died. These humans were insane. "Recall all teams. Evasive maneuvers," he roared. But it was too late. The humans had taught the galaxy a new lesson. Never assume surrender. File name. She shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.txt. The Krell dreadnought's engines flared desperately, trying to pull away. Too slow. The Valiant's damaged thrusters screamed at maximum burn, closing the gap faster than Zackthros could react. 15 seconds to impact! Greg called out, voice steady despite the madness of their plan. Lisa watched the distance shrink on her display. 12 seconds. 10. The Krell vessel was trying to turn, exposing its flank. Perfect. "Commander, they're recalling their teams. Transport signatures detected throughout the ship," Greg reported. "Let them run," Lisa said. "But not all of them will make it." At 8 seconds, the Krell dreadnought finally gained enough lateral momentum to avoid a direct collision. But Lisa had counted on that. She'd studied Krell tactics for 3 years. She knew their evasion patterns. Helm, hard starboard. Match their turn. The Valiant pivoted, keeping the collision course locked. The Krell ship's hull loomed in their view screen, close enough to see individual armor plates. 4 seconds. 3. Zackthros roared in fury as he realized the human commander had predicted his maneuver. His ship couldn't turn fast enough. The human vessel was going to clip their engine section. 2. 1. The Valiant's reinforced bow scraped along the Krell dreadnought's port side, tearing through secondary systems and ripping open compartments. The screech of metal on metal echoed through both ships. Atmosphere vented in frozen clouds. The impact threw everyone on both bridges off their feet. Lisa hit the deck hard, her broken hand erupting in fresh agony. Alarms shrieked. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency reds. "Damage report!" she shouted, pulling herself up. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. We're venting atmosphere. Emergency bulkheads holding. Thrusters offline. We're dead in space," Greg reported, blood running down his face from a gash above his eye. "And them?" "Their engine section is compromised. Massive damage. They're losing power across multiple systems." Lisa allowed herself a grim smile. They'd hurt the giant. Now came the hard part. Open a channel. All frequencies. Maximum broadcast range. "Channel open, Commander." Lisa straightened despite her injuries, speaking clearly into the comm. "This is Commander Lisa Grant of the United Earth Navy vessel Valiant. To all ships in range. We have just engaged and damaged a Krell dreadnought in single combat. Our ship is crippled, but we are not defeated. We have killed over 100 Krell boarders and driven the rest off our vessel. To any Earth forces receiving this transmission, our coordinates are attached. To any Krell forces listening, know this. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not bow. Push us, and we push back harder. Grant out." She cut the transmission and looked at her crew. 6 faces, all bloodied, all exhausted, all defiant. "Now we wait and see who shows up first," she said. The answer came faster than expected. "Commander, detecting multiple jump signatures. Ships entering the system." Greg's hands flew across his console. "I count 15 contacts. Correction, 20. Lisa's heart sank. If those were Krell reinforcements, this was over. "Identification?" Greg's face broke into a wild grin. "They're ours. Earth fleet signatures across the board. Cruisers, destroyers, even 2 carriers. It's the 3rd Fleet." The bridge erupted in cheers despite their injuries, but Lisa's tactical mind was already working. "Hail the fleet commander." A moment later, a weathered face appeared on the damaged view screen. Admiral Patrick Kane, commander of humanity's 3rd Fleet, regarded her with obvious respect. "Commander Grant, your transmission was received by our scout ships. We accelerated our arrival. Status of the Krell vessel? Heavily damaged, sir. Their engines are crippled. They're trying to restore power, but they're vulnerable." Kane's expression hardened. "I've reviewed your tactical logs that transmitted with your message. What you did here today will be studied at the Academy for decades. You took an impossible situation and turned it into a statement. Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Granted. It wasn't just me, Admiral. Every crew member on this ship refused to die quietly. We fought back because that's what humans do. The Krell thought we were weak. I think we've corrected that assumption." Kane nodded slowly. "That you have, Commander. That you have. Stand by for rescue and recovery operations. And, Commander, when this is over, I'm recommending you for the Silver Star. Your crew as well. They earned it, sir." On the Krell dreadnought, Zakthros watched the human fleet deploy an attack formation around his crippled ship. His warriors stood ready to fight, but even they could see the mathematics. 20 fresh human warships against 1 damaged dreadnought. His communications officer approached hesitantly. "War leader, the human fleet commander is hailing us." "Put it through." Admiral Kane's face appeared, cold and unforgiving. "Krell vessel, you are surrounded and outgunned. You have 2 options. Surrender and your crew will be treated according to interstellar law, or fight and we will destroy you. You have 60 seconds to decide." Zakthros felt rage building in his chest. The Krell Empire did not surrender. They conquered. They dominated. They ruled. But they also survived. And these humans had proven something today that changed everything. File name. She shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.txt. Zakthros made his choice in 40 seconds. His warriors hissed in protest as he gave the order, but he silenced them with a growl. The Krell Empire would hear of this day. They would learn what he had learned. Humans were not prey. "We surrender," Zakthros transmitted, each word like swallowing acid. Admiral Kane accepted without gloating. Professional. Clinical. That somehow made it worse. Within the hour, Earth Marines boarded the Krell dreadnought. Zathros watched them move through his ship with weapons ready and eyes sharp. They expected resistance. They were prepared for treachery. These were not the soft traders or peaceful explorers the Krell intelligence had described. These were soldiers who had just learned they could win. On the Valiant, medical teams worked frantically to stabilize the wounded. Lisa refused treatment until every other crew member had been seen. Dr. Cole had to physically order her into a medical pod to repair her crushed hand and internal injuries. "You're a terrible patient, Commander," Vanessa said, initiating the healing sequence. "And you're a terrifying combat medic," Lisa replied, managing a weak smile. "Liquid nitrogen to the face." That was inspired. "Desperation makes you creative." Vanessa's expression darkened. "I lost 12 patients today. 12 people I couldn't save. You saved 3, and you killed 5 Krell warriors while doing it. Those 3 are alive because you refused to quit." The medical pod hummed, knitting bone and tissue. Lisa closed her eyes, exhaustion finally catching up with her. But sleep wouldn't come. Her mind kept replaying the fight, analyzing what worked and what didn't. She had 93 crew members at the start of the engagement. 47 were dead, 28 were critically injured, only 18 walked away with minor wounds. But they'd survived, against a force designed to overwhelm them. 3 days later, Lisa stood in Admiral Kane's ready room aboard the carrier Lexington. Her hand was healed, her uniform pressed, but the memories were fresh. "The Krell High Command has filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council," Kane said, reviewing a datapad. "They claim you violated the laws of warfare by using suicide tactics." Lisa's jaw tightened. "We didn't suicide, sir. We maneuvered aggressively. I know that. You know that. But the galaxy is talking, Commander. Word of what happened here has spread to every civilized system within jump range. Do you know what they're calling it? No, sir. The human moment. That instant, when your species stops calculating odds and starts fighting on pure will." Kane set down the pad. 3 other human ships have been engaged by Krell forces since your battle. All 3 won. You know why? Lisa shook her head. "Because the Krell are hesitating now. They're second-guessing. They board a human ship and they remember what happened to their warriors on the Valiant. That hesitation is costing them engagements across the front." Kane stood and walked to the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. "The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session. The Krell want sanctions against humanity for what they're calling barbaric combat practices. But here's the interesting part. 17 other species have filed counter-complaints against the Krell for initiating unprovoked aggression. Species that were too afraid to speak up before. Because we proved the Krell can bleed," Lisa said quietly. "Exactly! You didn't just save your ship, Commander. You changed the political landscape of this entire sector." Kane turned to face her. "How does that feel?" Lisa considered the question carefully. 47 dead crew members, families that would never see their loved ones again. Victory measured in bodies and shattered lives. "It feels heavy, sir." "Good answer. Means you understand the cost. The Valiant is being towed to dry dock for repairs. Estimated reconstruction time is 8 months. Your crew is being dispersed to other assignments during the rebuild. And me, sir? You're being promoted to captain and given command of a new vessel. The Defiant, a heavy cruiser fresh from the shipyards. She's got the latest weapons, reinforced armor, and a crew of 300 hand-picked volunteers." Kane paused. "They all requested assignments specifically to serve under you." Lisa felt the weight of that responsibility settle on her shoulders. 300 people who believed in her, who trusted her to lead them through hell if necessary. "When do I take command?" 2 weeks. But first, you have another duty. The Galactic Council wants you to testify about the engagement. They want to hear directly from you what happened and why. The Krell won't like that, sir. The Krell can file their complaints in triplicate for all I care. You're going to that council, and you're going to tell them exactly what humanity is capable of when threatened. Consider it a diplomatic mission." Lisa straightened. "Understood, sir. Dismissed, Captain Grant." She saluted and turned to leave, but Kane called her back. "Lisa, one more thing. What you did on that bridge, refusing to die, refusing to surrender, that's spreading beyond the military. Civilian populations are seeing the footage. You've become a symbol. I'm just an officer who got angry, sir. Maybe. But sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. The galaxy thought humanity was soft because we prefer diplomacy to war. You reminded them that preference isn't weakness, it's choice. And when that choice is taken away, we're still apex predators under the politics. Lisa nodded and left, her mind already racing ahead to the Galactic Council chambers and the statement she would make. The Krell had wanted to test humanity's resolve. They were about to get their answer in front of the entire galaxy. File name. She shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.text. The Galactic Council chamber orbited the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime. Captain Lisa Grant stood in the central platform, surrounded by a circular gallery of alien delegates. Thousands of eyes in every color and configuration imaginable watched her. The Krell delegation occupied the largest section, their war leader Zathros among them. His four eyes burned with hatred across the chamber. The Council Arbiter, a towering crystalline being named Threshold, activated the translation matrix. Its voice resonated in every language simultaneously. Captain Grant of Earth, you stand before this council to provide testimony regarding Incident 773, the engagement between the human vessel Valiant and Krell Dreadnought Crimson Talon. Do you swear to provide truthful account? I do, Lisa replied, her voice steady. The Krell delegation has accused humanity of violating 6 articles of Galactic Warfare Convention. How do you respond? Lisa looked directly at Zathros by asking a simple question. Which convention covers defense against unprovoked attack in neutral space? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Krell delegate rose, scales bristling. The Valiant entered Krell territorial claim space. We enforced our sovereignty. Territorial claim filed 3 days before the attack, Lisa countered. Long after my ship entered the region on a mapped trade route that's been in use for 40 years, you manufactured justification for ambush. Threshold raised a crystalline limb for silence. Continue your testimony, Captain. Lisa activated the holoprojector at the center platform. Combat footage from the Valiant's internal sensors materialized in 3 dimensions around her. The delegates watched as Krell warriors slaughtered her crew in the opening moments. My ship was outgunned, outmanned, and suffering catastrophic damage. By every tactical calculation, we should have died in the first 5 minutes. The Krell expected us to surrender or be eliminated. Lisa paused, letting the footage show a Krell warrior crushing a human engineer's skull. We chose a third option. The hologram shifted to show Lisa's fight on the bridge. The alien delegates leaned forward as they watched her break her own hand, driving it into the Krell's chest, then recover and fight back. Humans have a saying, when you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. The Krell made a fundamental miscalculation. They thought our diplomatic nature meant we were incapable of violence. They were wrong. Zathros stood again. You used suicide tactics. Your collision course endangered both vessels and violated the prohibition against kamikaze attacks. I used a tactical maneuver that forced you to make a choice, Lisa corrected. Recall your borders or lose your ship. That's not suicide. And it worked because you valued your warriors' lives. I respected that. I gave you time to withdraw them. You killed over 100 of our elite forces who were actively trying to kill my crew. Lisa's voice rose, filling the chamber. You boarded my ship. You executed wounded personnel. You showed no mercy, offered no quarter. And when my crew fought back with the same intensity, you're crying foul to this council? The chamber erupted in competing voices. Species that had faced Krell aggression shouted support. Krell allies demanded sanctions. Threshold pulsed with light, restoring order. Captain Grant, the Council recognizes that combat is chaotic, but explain your broadcast. The message you sent on all frequencies. Some members interpret it as a threat. Lisa called up the transmission recording. Her bloodied face filled the holographic display, defiant despite obvious injuries. I told the truth. Humanity doesn't surrender. We don't bow. Push us and we push back harder. That's not a threat, Arbiter. That's a promise, and it's directed at anyone who thinks they can prey on human ships without consequence. A delegate from the Scythian Collective, a species of insectoid traders, activated their speaker. Captain Grant, your actions have emboldened resistance across multiple sectors. Krell expansion has halted in 3 regions since your engagement. Some view this as humanity destabilizing established order. Established order built on intimidation and conquest? Lisa met the Scythians' compound eyes. I've read the reports. 41 species have fallen under Krell dominance in the last decade. How many filed complaints with this council? How many received help? Silence answered her. How many received help? You all watched the Krell expand because stopping them was too difficult, too dangerous. So you let them take world after world, hoping they'd be satisfied. But predators are never satisfied. Lisa turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. Earth didn't ask for this fight. We came to this region of space seeking trade and cooperation. We followed your laws, respected your territories, and tried to be good neighbors. The Krell attacked us anyway because they saw weakness where we showed restraint. So yes, we fought back. And yes, we won. If that destabilizes your established order, maybe your order needed destabilizing. The chamber exploded in reaction. Half the delegates were on their feet, shouting in dozens of languages. Threshold pulsed repeatedly before order returned. This council will recess to deliberate, the Arbiter announced. Captain Grant, you will remain available for additional questioning. As the delegates filed out, Lisa noticed something. The smaller species, the ones who'd suffered under Krell pressure, were looking at her differently. Not with fear or anger, with hope. Admiral Kane met her outside the chamber, a rare smile on his weathered face. You just told 200 species that humanity won't be pushed around. That's going to have consequences. Good or bad, sir? Both, but mostly good. I've got word from Earth Command. 6 species have approached us about mutual defense agreements. Trade delegations are requesting meetings, and the Krell just withdrew their forces from 3 disputed sectors. Lisa processed that information. They're backing down? They're reassessing. You showed them that humans are expensive prey. Now they're calculating whether we're worth the cost. Kane's expression turned serious. But this isn't over. The Krell don't forget humiliation. Zakthros is calling for your head back in their empire. Let him call. That's the spirit. Now come on. Your new ship is waiting and the crew is eager to meet their captain. Lisa followed Kane toward the docking bay, aware that eyes tracked her movement through the station. Some hostile, some curious, some grateful. She'd come here to testify about one battle. She'd ended up declaring humanity's place in the galaxy. The Defiant waited in dock, sleek and deadly, 300 crew members ready to follow her into whatever came next. File name. She shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.txt. 6 months later, the Defiant cut through deep space on patrol near the disputed border zones. Captain Lisa Grant walked her bridge with confidence earned through fire. Her crew moved with precision, every station manned by veterans who'd volunteered to serve under her command. Captain, detecting distress signal. Civilian transport under attack. Lieutenant Danny Cross called from tactical. Source? Veston freighter. 3 light minutes from our position. They're being engaged by unknown hostiles. Lisa didn't hesitate. Battle stations. Helm, intercept course. Maximum acceleration. The Defiant leaped forward, her powerful engines pushing the crew back in their seats. 2 minutes later, they dropped from faster-than-light travel into chaos. A Veston cargo hauler, unarmed and defenseless, was being torn apart by 4 Krell raiders, smaller than warships, but deadly against civilian targets. The freighter's hull was breached in multiple locations, atmosphere venting into space. Tactical, target the lead raider. Fire when ready. The Defiant's main cannon spoke with thunder. Coherent energy beams crossed the distance in heartbeats, punching through the raider's shields and coring its stem to stern. The Krell ship exploded in a brilliant flash. The remaining 3 raiders immediately broke off their attack and turned to face this new threat. Lisa recognized the pattern. They were flanking, trying to catch the Defiant in a crossfire. Helm, attack pattern Delta 7. Let's show them what this ship can do. The Defiant rolled and accelerated, her weapons tracking all 3 targets simultaneously. The engagement lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 3 more Krell Raider wrecks tumbled through space, and the Defiant hadn't taken a single hit. "Hail the freighter," Lisa ordered. A Vestan face appeared on screen, their tentacles quivering with relief. The species resembled aquatic creatures, with large eyes and gentle features. "Human vessel, you have saved our lives. Our cargo, our crew, everything would have been lost. Are you able to make repairs?" "Yes, thank you. Our systems are damaged but functional. We can reach the nearest station. We'll escort you. No arguments. These raiders might have friends nearby." The Vestan captain's eyes shimmered with gratitude. "Your species has changed much in this sector, Captain. 6 months ago we would have died here and no one would have come. Now humanity patrols these spaces and protects those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy notices." Lisa felt the weight of those words. In 6 months, Earth had gone from victim to guardian. Not through conquest or domination, but through the simple act of refusing to be prey and extending that protection to others. "Just doing our job," Lisa replied. "Safe travels." She closed the channel and turned to her crew. They were watching her with expressions she'd seen before. Pride, trust, determination. "Lieutenant Cross, status on Krell activity in the sector?" "Down 70% since the Galactic Council hearing, Captain. They're avoiding human patrols and focusing on regions we don't patrol, which means other species are still vulnerable." "Yes, ma'am. But 17 species have signed mutual defense pacts with Earth in the last 4 months. The network is growing." Lisa walked to the forward viewport, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Zakthros was plotting revenge. The Krell Empire was regrouping, adapting. They wouldn't forget what happened on the Valiant. Good. Let them remember. Let the entire galaxy remember that humanity came to space seeking friends, but prepared to face enemies. That humans valued peace but wouldn't purchase it with submission. That when pushed to the edge, cornered and outgunned, humanity fought back with everything they had. "Helm, set course for the next patrol sector. Standard speed." "Aye, Captain." The Defiant turned gracefully and accelerated into the black. Behind her, the Vestan freighter began repairs, its crew alive because one human captain had refused to die quietly 6 months ago. That refusal had echoed across the galaxy. It changed politics, shifted alliances, and reminded every species that strength wasn't just about weapons or numbers. It was about will, about the decision to stand and fight when surrender seemed easier. Lisa touched the scar on her hand where it had shattered against Krell armor. The medical pod had healed it perfectly, but she could still feel the ghost of that moment. Eyes closed, waiting for death, then choosing violence instead. That choice had started something larger than one battle, one ship, one crew. It had announced humanity's arrival not as supplicants or victims, but as equals who would defend themselves and anyone who stood beside them. The galaxy had noticed, and the galaxy would never forget. "Captain," Lieutenant Cross said quietly, "message from Earth Command. They want to know our status. Tell them the Defiant is operational and on station. Tell them humanity's borders are secure, and tell them we're ready for whatever comes next." Cross smiled. "Aye, Captain. They'll like that answer." Lisa settled into her command chair, surrounded by her crew, aboard a ship named for Defiance itself. She'd shut her eyes once, waiting for death. She'd open them, and changed everything. File name. She shut her eyes, waiting for death. What this human did stunned the entire galaxy. HFY Sci-Fi.